Scarcely for a righteous man will one die. Yet, perhaps, or peradventure for a good man, someone would even dare to die. God demonstrates his own love toward us, and that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. John 15, verse 13 and 14. Greater love has no one than this, than to lay down one's life for his friends. You are my friends, Jesus said, if you do whatever I command you. Lord, will you bless your word today? We have given remembrance to those who have fallen and those who remain. We've also broke bread around your table of remembrance. Now, Lord, as we continue, may each and every person in this building be conscious of your presence and your nearness. Nearer, my God, to thee. Nearer to thee. Oh, Lord, will you bring every one of us closer to yourself today, that we would fall in love with your Son, the Lord Jesus, and serve him for the rest of our lives. Lord, we ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen. This is Remembrance Day. And all over our province, our nation, the world, millions will gather at cenotaphs, stand attention with bowed heads at war memorials, sing hymns in churches, and lay wreaths to commemorate the fallen. This wreath was meant to be laid in London cenotaph. Only Richard broke his foot, so he donated it for us today. To commemorate the fallen, we will remember them. The men and women who went to war, millions of them, even here in our own province, tens of thousands left these shores. Protestants and Catholics boarded ships and aircrafts travelled to parts of the world to fight wars in order to stop dictators, despots, tyrants, and oppressors, to bring victory, freedom to a threatened world. Many of them marched to war and never returned. Their remains lie in graveyards in Flanders fields or foreign lands, marked only by a white headstone. A mother's son, a father's daughter, a mum, a dad, a brother, a sister, a friend, a pal, a mate. They paid the ultimate sacrifice. They died to bring victory and freedom for you and me. They gave their todays for our tomorrows. We will remember them. Others marched to war only to return in coffins, draped in Union Jacks or Stars and Stripes, brought home for grieving families to lay them to rest nearer to them in their local cemeteries. We will remember them. Others returned bearing the scars of war, some scars clearly visible, others invisible, psychological and mental. In fact, this is the 100th year anniversary, the centenary year of World War I, and many of the survivors, my own grandfathers as well, never ever spoke about their experiences of such a horrific war, but we will remember them. For scarcely for a righteous man will one die, and perhaps for a good man someone would dare to die. What price freedom? Freedom is never free. Someone was willing to pay a price. Someone was willing to pay a price. We enjoy freedom today because men and women were willing to leave the comforts of home and go to war to face an enemy that needed defeated in order that you and I could live in freedom. They were willing to lay their lives down for others. There were heroes who displayed gallantry, self-sacrifice, heroism. Men like Billy McFadden in World War I, on the 1st of July 1916, 20-year-old Billy McFadden from Lurgan was serving in the 14th Battalion of the Royal Irish Rangers, preparing for the Battle of the Somme. And in Thiepval Wood, France, when a box of hand grenades fell into the trench, 2 of which pins came out, Billy realised the danger, and in seconds he decided to throw himself on top of the 2 grenades, smothered the explosion, and in doing so gave his life that his comrades might be saved. His father went to Buckingham Palace to receive his victory crown from King George V. Amazingly, almost 100 years later, on the 6th of April 2008, Lance Corporal Matt Croucher was faced with the same dilemma, the same crisis during a Taliban raid, and with only seconds to decide, he threw himself on the live grenade in order to save the lives of his 3 comrades. Amazingly, he survived to tell his own story and to receive his victory crown in person. We will remember them. No one ought to be robbed or grudged the honour of their moment on the battlefield. We will remember them. We must remember them, the fallen. In fact, Reverend David Belton was so impressed with them, men who had done brave deeds where no one saw them. They had no recognition, no decorations, no medals. They went in jeopardy, according to Psalm 20, or 2 Samuel 23 and 17. They went in jeopardy of their own lives. And this man felt that something needed to be done to keep them in remembrance. So an unknown soldier's body was wrapped in a Union Jack and reburied in Westminster Abbey, our national cenotaph of greatest honour. So impressed, the Americans copied it at their national cemetery in Arlington, the French at the Arc de Triomphe in Paris, and the Italians at the Chiesa di Santa Maria in Rome. That unknown soldier represents some mother's son, the fallen, some father's daughter, a parent, a mom, a dad, a sister, a brother, a nation's unnamed hero. The purpose, lest we forget. Lest we forget. We will remember them. Hold on. We will salute them. We will honour them. We will exonerate them. Real people, real lives, real deaths, bringing real victories, real freedom, and real hope for you and I today. What price freedom? Greater love hath no man than this, than a man lay down his life for his friends. Because it's the anniversary, the 100th year anniversary of World War I want to bring this little story. I've read it on several occasions over the last few years. A sacrifice worthwhile. During the First World War, after a German attack, a soldier came back into the ranks and discovered that his pal with whom he had gone out had not returned. Immediately he asked permission to go back over the battlefield to find him, if that were possible. The officer advised against it, saying, even if you find him, it will not be worth it, and you will go out at the risk of your own life. But if you are determined, you may go. The lad went off immediately, found his friend badly wounded, and was bringing him back to the lines, but before he reached them, his friend died, and he only just made it back on his own territory. The officer came over to see if he could help him, but seeing his life was ebbing out, said, I told you, you had better not go. It and warned you that you might lose your own life? Was it worthwhile? He said, yes, sir. Yes, sir. The soldier replied, it was worthwhile, for when I reached him, he said, I knew you would come. To hear those words from his lips was worthwhile, sir. Oh, the rawness of war, the daringness of courage, the painfulness of suffering, the sadness of loss, the joyfulness of freedom, and the hopefulness of victory. There's nothing pleasant in war. There's nothing pleasing in conflict. There's nothing pulsating in adversity other than fear, dread, and pain. Men, 19,000 of them, lay dead in the fields and beaches in one day at the Battle of the Somme. What price freedom, friends? Post-traumatic stress, people suffer with it even in this house today. Counselling, mental health, psychotic episodes, nervous breakdowns were unheard of then. People were just told to get up, put yourself together, and get on with it. No wonder many hit the drink, became alcoholics, suffered nervous breakdowns, marriages broke down, families fell apart, affairs, unwanted children. People were left traumatized by war. Yet through it all, many trusted in the Lord for salvation. We will remember them. During the war, there were all over the country groups of women who met together to knit for the soldiers. I'm sure Margaret Wood was one of them. They made up parcels of woolies and often put a little text or a friendly message in the thumb of a glove or the toe of a sock. One mother knitting at her local WVS centre put a stamp-sized card in a sock with the words, "Fear not." At the London headquarters, the socks were bundled into a large parcel for troops in Holland. And the one pair of socks happened to be dished out to a soldier who was terribly depressed and was scared of the impending attack. He found the card saying, "Fear not," and read the initials of the sender. They were the same as his mother's, and although he was sure it could only be a coincidence, he still felt that somehow the message was meant especially for him. Believe it or not, he eventually learned that the message had indeed come from his mother. Amazing, isn't it? How her love had reached out and given her son the courage he needed for the offensive, an ordeal which he came through unscathed. Your ma's your ma. Just want to say we will remember them. Your mom. As I close this little thought, God has his own memorial. We've been around the table. God's own memorial was at the place called Calvary, where his son paid the ultimate sacrifice for this sinful world, for your sin and for mine. He went to war on sin and Satan. He went to the cross to pay the price for our redemption, for our forgiveness, for our deliverance, for our freedom. He died and he was buried, but 3 days later he rose again. We serve a risen Saviour. Yeah. He's not on a crucifix, he's not in a tomb. He's alive and well, and he's in this very service. He died that you might live. Someone wrote a different version. It would be difficult or scarce to get a man to die for a just man. It might be possible for a man to be persuaded to die for some great and good principle. I've seen that over 30 years or 40 years in Northern Ireland. Some may even lay down their life for a friend, queen and country, or a cause. But the wonder of all wonders is that Jesus Christ died for us when we were sinners, rebels, born with our backs toward God, sworn enemies, yet while we were like that, God still loved us. And His Son died for us. Love can go no further than that. The highest form of love is a self-sacrifice that spurs not life itself. Greater love hath no man than this, than a man lay down his life for his friends. These are the words spoken by Jesus. He spoke these words. The Lord Jesus, God's sinless, spotless Son, our Saviour, He not only said these words, He showed it, He demonstrated it, He fulfilled it, and He personally did it for you and me. Greater love hath no man than this. This love no one can exceed. This love held nothing back. This love spoke with actions, not only words. Jesus' friendship is seen in His sacrifice. It was voluntary. He gave His life. It was vicarious for you and me. It was vicious. He suffered on a cross. But it was victorious. It brought salvation. The normal person looks at Calvary, the cross, and says, what a tragedy. God looks at Calvary and says about His Son, what a triumph. What a triumph. Man of sorrows, what a name. Man of sorrows, what a name. A true friend is one who understands our silence. He comes in when everyone else goes out. Whose handshake is a volume of sympathy and support. Whose look tells you they understand. Whose presence says, I'm with you, I'm behind you, I'm for you, no matter what. One who sticks closer than a brother. Jesus said, you are my friends if you do whatsoever I command you. Are you the friend of Jesus this morning? He wants to be your friend as well as your Saviour and Lord. Are you the friend of Jesus this morning? You can be today by acknowledging and accepting what He did for you at God's memorial place called Calvary. Will you do what He commands? Will you become the friend of Jesus on this Remembrance Day? Make Him your own and personal Saviour. We will remember them. We will remember Him. May God bless these things to all of us today. I'm sure you've got your own thoughts about your own family, friends, loved ones. Even today, you have loved ones in Afghanistan still serving in the forces. And tonight, folks, honestly, I believe it's God has laid on my heart to continue tonight on not testimonies, because we could be here the next Remembrance Sunday with testimonies, but the veterans' moments. Just a little brief 5-minute, and you hear that there's 5 of them. 5 minutes, men. And we've also got a song with a wee montage as well. And we look forward to that. I just feel it's right. Pastor Hamilton will bring, this man was also a veteran as a pastor and evangelist during the Troubles in Northern Ireland. And I'm sure he's taken many Remembrance Day services, but I felt it was right to ask him to bring bring a wee gospel flood at the end of it. So tonight we're here, the veterans' memories are moments for them. And I believe that you'll be surprised what you hear tonight, how God was good to every one of them and brought them through whatever they faced. In the name of the Lord. Let's just bow and pray.